Need a motion to approve them? Motion by Derek and second by Kenny. Any more discussion? Alright, all in favor? Any opposed? Alright, 7-0. Alright. Do you have any visitor report communications?
Nope, not at this time.
Okay, no old business month. We'll move on to Mr. Eddington, administration reports.
Things last week are obviously a little different than when we turned this in. So just highlight some awesome students going on. I know that team-wise, our winter sports had a great season. Academics, we had our math and science fair last Tuesday. We had some great places there. And then Mrs. Brown took some junior high students to something that's brand new to us is having junior high relays, is what they're called. And so some kids participated in that and did real well with that as well. Upcoming events, as everybody knows, are not going to be there, at least at this point, in the near future. So hopefully in mid-April we'll get back to business there. And I don't want to step on anybody's, steal anybody's thunder, but I don't know. Again, publicly want to thank Dr. Burkhart. It's been a tough weekend. It's been a tough start to this week, and she's holding the ship together. Our teachers worked amazing on Monday to get things out as quick as we could, to have some stuff for students, just in case the inevitable happened, and it did. And then Mrs. Register, she put things on the website as quick as teachers were putting them in, and so maybe it's easy access for parents as best as we can get there in a short time frame. And now and then, the custodians and kitchen staff taking care of things the way they are in this meantime as well. So I know Miss Chambers probably want to do that as well. But anyway, any questions for mine?
How are our scores reported by our coaches, all activities,
What do you mean scores?
ball game results?
I can tell you, Randy emails them right after the ball game's over.
And I see more of those than I do basketball unless the other team reports it.
To where? To the
Newspaper?
newspaper?
On the paper? Or
I don't know.
So it's coach's discretion.
Maybe they'll
Looks
get,
like-
well,
yeah.
not necessarily, because there's been times he's reported them and they don't get them in.
I think if he continues it, they will see that, you know, he is gonna do that win or lose, because I just have the same problem. And again, it depends on your sports editor, but
Yeah.
I've asked the same thing several years now, because our basketball just does not get reports in.
No, not unless Alex is at the game.
I mean, you can fax those things at the end of a thing and have it 5 seconds if you got your printout, run it through fax, just 7 or 8 numbers in less than 5 minutes.
So is it up to each coach then, or the AD send them in? I mean, I know it's on the paper.
For me, in history, it's always been a coach thing.
Okay.
Because you're talking about, sometimes they're in different places on the same night, and so it's usually coach making sure that they get that into, and then, communicate. I mean, I think it's Alex is really the predominant editor there at Sedalia getting that taken care of, so.
I disagree with that, but I have some personal bias there because of misreported information many times in the past.
No, I'm saying he's the one.
He's the sports editor.
And, that's not the first time we had a college signing here, and the parent asked me a week later if I'd get that, and I forwarded it to the parent and the editor at the same time, and it still didn't get in the paper either. So, I'm not saying it happens all the time, but
A lot of, our results that we see are when other teams post it. And so, obviously, they're not gonna be very glamorous on how our kids perform compared to how theirs did. They may give how many points their kid, the top scorer had, and we won the game by 20 points, and, well, okay, guess they happened.
you're talking about typing up an entire, like, a little article of it each
I
night,
had
or?
a form that all I had to do was fill in, aces, kills, whatever.
Yeah, but they put, I know in softball, Randy puts every stat that he can get off of that score sheet,
And he
and
does
they
give-
pick and choose what they
I
want to
mean,
put in there.
But again, I think
Make
if he
their own little
maintains
article.
consistency with that, he'll at least get the score in there and maybe 1 or 2 players named mentioned. But I see his in there,
Okay.
but I don't see a lot of the others.
All right, anything else, Mr. Eddington? All right, Ms. Sammers.
A couple changes from my board report. I do want to say we had an amazing Grandparents' Day. I don't know if you've talked with anyone out in the community, but we hosted 215 grandparents that day. It was beautiful weather. We couldn't ask for better weather that day. PTO was a great support to us, providing snacks and a drink for all grandparents and students. And shout out to our NHS students who really stepped up. I had lots of grandparents recognizing their help as well. So just overall, it was a great community event, and I'm just excited that we get to do that each year. Pertaining to our math and spelling bee, which was scheduled on March 25th, it has been canceled for this year. We talked about postponing the principal group, and it was decided that they would cancel it. We've already ordered our shirts for those students that were our contestants, and so they will get those shirts. But sad to see that we didn't get to have that event this year. Also, kindergarten screenings. I was in contact today via email with the parents as teachers in Sedalia, because they do our screenings for us. And we will not be doing them on April 1st and 2nd. And basically they said we have to wait and see, and they said Sedalia may wait and even do them in August. So it kind of depends on, how this rolls out, but I will be communicating that as well this week, now that I have that information. I could just ditto everything Rodney said about all the success we've had this week, and the mentoring we've had with Dr. Burkhardt as our leader through this time. So it's a great sense of community and teamwork here at Green Ridge, and it's nice to be a part of that team.
May I have anything for her? Ms. Naganor.
I also have probably just one change in mine. I was scheduled to attend my annual speech conference, April 3rd through the 5th, and that's been canceled. So I won't be going there. Everything else is in that report. Give a shout out to Michael Nilsson. He has applied for and received our Voc Rehab summer work program, so he will go and work this summer for 6 weeks and get a paycheck and learn some skills. And then he also is going to get to go to the Missouri Youth Leadership Forum on the MU campus in July. So first time we've had a student do that, and he's really excited about both of those opportunities.
All right, Dr. Burkhardt.
I have a lot to report regarding finance and then just miscellaneous. So, in the report, it does state that the February DESI transmittal showed an increase again in the state adequacy target. It increased to $6,375 from the $6,365. So, state revenues continue to arrive at a higher level than budgeted. Remember that the budgeted SAT was at $6,330. So the difference from the originally budgeted $6,330 to the current SAT of $6,375 is almost $19,000. So it's always nice and helpful to budget conservatively when things can happen. So a reminder that our state funding is based on ADA, our average daily attendance. And that's been fairly strong at this point. We did have a dip there where we were really watching things with influenza A and influenza B. But we seemed to rebound, and when I typed that, attendance was remaining strong. However, we were going to be watching what COVID-19 could do to our attendance. Our attendance on Monday was around 87%. And there were additional concerns that we continued to hear. And so we knew that that ADA was going to continue to reduce, and we were also sharing some of those concerns that our community was reporting. So, it's important then to note that if state revenues are down, then state money could also be withheld. I've seen it in the past where they generally withhold it from transportation, which transportation dollars are really not all of that great anyway, but that's always a possibility that budgeting, could be, they could withhold transportation money. Sometimes the SAT is lowered, and that's why, again, conservatively budgeting for small schools is important. So DESE continues to say that this year's budget really shouldn't be affected. And it's also good that we have reserves at or above 40%. And so that, again, confirms that importance of having a sufficient fund balance for small schools. Schools with low fund balances could, in the future, have some difficulty. We watched a webinar on Friday. In this webinar, it was a DESE-sponsored webinar, and they explained that the funding formula process is designed to absorb a one-year attendance irregularity, which I think we can all say that that's what we're experiencing. They even provide language in this regarding infectious disease, contagion, epidemic, plague, or other similar condition where a school attendance is substantially reduced for an extended period in any school year. And so this is paid then on the first or second preceding year's ADA. So therefore, next year's basic formula payments could be based on the highest of the district's first or second preceding year of ADA. So for next year's budget, we're still going to be looking to DESE for guidance. You know, they say that the ADA shouldn't be the problem, but what we could potentially be looking at would be state revenues themselves. So especially when we look at classroom trust fund dollars, you know, with the closing of casinos. So, you know, when I'm looking at budgeting for next year, I'll probably reduce that SAT quite a bit to continue to budget conservatively, and then reduce what we think we're going to get from Proposition C money, because Prop C money, that funding's tied to sales. And if people aren't going out spending any money at this time, that then can affect those Prop C monies. So we've got a lot of things that we're thinking about finance-wise, both this year and for budgeting next year, because we're in the middle of that. So kind of skipping over some of the other things, just to make sure we've got some time.
So, real fast, so on
Yes.
this, so are we turning any reports that, the kids are still doing things, but we're not in person school. So are they, the state's still crediting us for educating them with?
So the answer to that is we don't know yet.
Okay.
And when we get into the new business and COVID-19, you know, I can tell you kind of what the state is telling us on that, but to kind of get there, they could potentially provide us with some ADA with these alternative methods of instruction, but we don't know. We just don't know. There is the potential that the commissioner will be having districts send a letter, and it's my understanding that they're actually going to be providing a form that you fill out. You know, here are the days that we've been out, and here's why. And the commissioner could sign a waiver for all of those days. We don't know what it'll look like yet. We're still waiting on guidance. I don't know that DESE knew at that point just how quickly all of this was going to unfold. Today, as of this morning, there were 513 schools out of 555, I think it is, schools that were closed.
I think it's up to 540 now. I think I heard on that.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I heard 530 something.
Our medical insurance rates increased by 17.5%. So therefore, I'm getting quotes on other options for our health and medical insurance. So we're hoping that the many health and wellness learning opportunities and incentives that we have in place will pay off in the future by reducing future insurance costs, as well as creating a healthier staff as well. Our health and wellness leadership team continues to work to educate and encourage our staff members to make those healthy choices and have healthy lifestyles that we hope will benefit the overall health of our staff. Our insurance costs were around $1 million, and the premiums were around $300,000, $330,000. So, you know, our insurance lost quite a bit of money on us. So those insurance rates have skyrocketed. I'm hopeful that we will have some others that can come back at a more affordable rate. So those aren't back yet. I made a Capitol visit and was able to visit with Senator Crawford and Representative House, and both are extremely supportive of small school districts. A new thing that I want to mention is April elections have been postponed. We received notification today from Pettis County that the April 7th election has been postponed until June 2nd in response to COVID-19. Let me see, I know that I think the rest, basically in my report surrounded COVID-19, and so I was gonna get to that when we get to that portion of the agenda. So I think that's pretty much the rest of my report.
Move on to new business ends, so the Mo Beef for Mo Kids presentation.
That's me.
All right.
I don't know where to
Good
stand. I
news.
guess I'll go stand over here so I can see everybody. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for having me. I know that you guys have a lot of really important things to talk about tonight. Beef may not sound super important to you right now, but it's important to all of us cattle farmers, so thank you so much for having me. I'm representing the Mo Beef for Mo Kids program, which is a program with the Missouri Beef Industry Council. And I don't know how familiar you guys are with it or what questions you have, but I'm going to do my best to answer anything that you have tonight. Basically what this program does is it brings communities together, which you guys were talking about, community events that you had going on, and that was really nice to hear some positive news instead of doom and gloom that's going on. And so what we see with this program is local cattle producers are able to donate beef to their schools. And that it's really that simple, and they are very passionate about it, and they love to give back to their school, and they love to make sure that the kids have a belly full of beef more often than not. Our program motto is to more beef more often. That's kind of what we want to do. So there's different portions that go with the program. We have the beef that's donated, obviously. So the school staff, the kitchen staff is the one that prepare the meat. They work with the processors and things like that to understand how much beef they need based on how many students you all have. And then there's also an educational component where somebody like me, I don't know if it will be me or if it will be somebody else in this area. We're working to hire more, well, we were before a lot of this coronavirus stuff happened, but we're working to kind of expand our program a little bit and hire some more folks that could be more regional to come in and do the educational program. So it's the program is called the Pasture to Plate series. And I or the regional staff for this region would go into the 5th grade classrooms here at the school and give them 3 lessons basically how the beef got there. The first lesson is about the production side of things, so what it looks like to live on a cattle farm and the important things that happen there. The second one we talk about is the nutrition part, so the fact that beef is good for you. And despite what the media and everybody says, it's important to have it on your plate. And then the third thing we talk about, we sometimes write notes to the producers that give the beef to the school, and then we do some other different activities to just kind of help them understand that beef is part of a healthy diet. And it can work with the sports and different activities that we have. So and we're still working on that. The education part would probably come, especially with all this setback with the virus stuff, that'll be in the fall. That's not a quick thing. And with the beef and things, it would just depend on what local producers you have and who's interested in donating, things like that. I have some stuff that you guys can keep. One donated animal, just to give you an idea, can provide up to 3,500 meals in a school district. And that is based on, I believe, a 3-ounce average serving for what the kids get. And that's just kind of gives you an idea of how many cows you would need. This is a smaller district, so I don't know how many you would need off the top of my head, but just that's kind of an idea. Some common questions that we get a lot are, is it too good to be true? There seems like there should be a catch, or somebody's secretly benefiting some way, and it's really not. It's just local cattle producers donating beef to their school, and just everybody feels good about it. Each district and each school is different. They handle the program differently. So while I'm here representing the program, it really is the most successful when there's community members and school members and producers that are involved and who are passionate about it here in Green Ridge, not just, in Columbia where our offices are. Another question is, I don't know if you all are an OPA school or not. You're not. The school is responsible for the processing of the animal. So if you were an OPA school, OPA does provide that, covers that cost. but a lot of times they'll have a local bank or a dentist office or whatever that wants to cover the cost of the processing for that animal. And that's another way to get more people involved with the program to get beef on the table for those kids. Trying to think. Does anybody else have any questions?
What's it do for the producer? They get tax credit, I guess? Or?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They do, and a lot of them are because those of us in the ag industry, and it's just an interesting time for everybody, but we're all realizing the importance of food on the shelf and just a healthy food supply. We're very thankful for that, and so in good times, there's conflicting messages in the media and on social media about agriculture and its importance. So a lot of beef producers are just very passionate about getting beef on the plate for these kids to eat. I'm guessing in Green Ridge, there's probably a lot of cattle producers that, you know, their kids, they go home and they eat beef when they go home. In Columbia and larger cities like that, that's not always the case. They may go home and eat mostly chicken or whatever that is. And so we're just very passionate about getting as much beef into these kids as possible.
So do y'all have a way of like recognizing the person that donates the beef?
Yes.
Okay.
So each school gets a poster for whoever donates the beef. They'll get, and it has their name and picture on it. They'll go up in the lunchroom or wherever you all choose to hang it. I think they get a banner as well to hang up just to kind of recognize that you're part of the program and beyond that, there's things that the Beef Industry Council provides, but then some schools, like up in Palmyra, they made a big old Palmyra loves Mo beef, and they hung it at the football stadium. I mean, you can get really creative with it. A lot of places have launch events. I was at one in Montrose last week, where they invited the school board and some of the cattle producers, and they had a big dinner, and some do that to kind of kick off the fact that there's beef in the lunchroom. So it's really a cool program in that you can get really creative with it and do as much or as little as you want. We're here to support and, you know, represent the program, but ultimately it's up to the community of how they want to do it.
So so if I'm a producer and I want to donate 10 steers, walk us through how that happens.
Right. That's a really good question. And honestly, this project program has a lot of logistics that we're still trying to work out to make it more streamlined. But the meat has to go through a USDA certified inspector. So we would have to find the closest processor to you. And then you would have to work with your school to see how much meat they would need, that kind of thing. And so right now we're working with the schools on a case-by-case basis. So we just work through the closest processor, like I said.
How does the dollar amount work for the tax credit for the producer?
To my knowledge, the processor works with the school, and they kind of come to producer and processor and school all work together to kind of put a dollar value on that, because most farmers have an idea of what their cattle are worth.
So
And
the school is just giving them as like filling out a form saying, you know, we received 10,000 pounds of beef, you know.
And we can help with all
bag
that.
on that day was $1.35 on the hoof.
Yep.
Okay.
So
And
is
the-
there are there restrictions on how big the beef is?
I was just about to say, we're working with that as well to get some regulations so that we don't get a great big one or a sick one or, you know, whatever that looks like. And they're working through that. I have not been given those yet, but we're working to get those more in a
Heifers or
neat
steers
package.
or
We
cows
had,
or
it can be, yeah,
anything?
yes. We're working to, like I said, get more of those regulations in place. I think the school last week did bulls. And it just, again, it's very pertinent to whatever the local place has, local school. Anybody else have any questions I can answer?
So I'm assuming most is all turned into hamburger, I guess, right?
Most of it, yes. But again, the processor can work with the school if they want a bunch of steaks, then you can do that, right? But yes.
Who's in charge of the grill?
Right.
Anybody else have any questions for him? So I guess at this point we need to do what to go forward, I guess.
So you'll have to find, yes, and I have her contact info. If you
Okay.
guys have a local producer that's interested, I will, if you guys are interested in doing the program, I will talk to my program director to make sure what the next steps are, especially with school being a little, you know,
Right.
we don't know when you guys are gonna be back.
Let's say we want to start for next year, plan for next year.
Yes, that's would be a safe, yes,
Then we got farmers that worry about, you know, right now you want to.
exactly. It may not be the
Too
best time
much,
to
yeah.
donate anyway.
That creates a question. So what if you have, you end up with 2 or 3 producers that are interested and maybe they're all gonna split it? Is that an option or does it have to just be one?
What do you mean split it?
As
the
many producers
product.
that want to
Donate a cow
can
or
donate,
cows.
can
you said
donate
you have a
something.
picture of the one. Well, what if it's not just one? What if it's two or three that are going to each
Put two or
take
three
a
in a
part?
picture.
That's,
Is that do you all do that already, or would that be something new for you?
That's on the school.
it would be based on a school by school basis. So whatever you have to donate, you would have to work that out with your local processor. If it's during deer season, that change, you know, there's a lot of factors on time of year, size of the animal, that kind of thing. So,
All right, anybody have a question for him? Appreciate you coming.
yes, thank you guys so much. I'll
Yeah.
leave this here if anybody has questions and stuff.
Thanks, Caroline.
Thank you.